Hello and welcome back to English for You. Kat and Reese returning for duty.
Yeah!
Super hungry.
Yes.
I really want some IKEA meatballs.
Yes. So we've been talking about IKEA. Well, we were talking about IKEA yesterday in the beginning of our article where you come for the furniture and stay for the food.
Yeah, IKEA is most famous for its furniture that you assemble or put together yourself.
Yeah.
But more in Taiwan, more recently, their food is becoming very famous. People go there just to eat. So yesterday we learned a bit about IKEA. What did we learn yesterday, Kat?
Well, we learned that it was founded in Sweden, but its headquarters are in the Netherlands now. And Taiwanese people, 30% of Taiwanese people who visit IKEA just go for food.
And the menu is specific in Taiwan to a Taiwanese taste.
That's right. They have this special kind of soup around Lunar New Year.
佛跳墙.
Yes, that's right. And apparently, it could be a really good place to have a Lunar New Year meal.
I want to go there right now to have some chocolate cake and meatballs, but before we head there, let's dive into day 2 of the article to find out more about their meatballs and maybe something you didn't expect about their meatballs.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Let's get right into it.
Reading.
IKEA. Come for the furniture, stay for the food. IKEA stores around the world sell about 2 million Swedish meatballs every day. It may surprise people to learn that Swedish meatballs weren't originally Swedish, though. King Charles XII of Sweden brought home a Turkish meatball recipe from the Ottoman Empire in the early 18th century. Classic IKEA meatballs contain beef and pork, and they're served with gravy, potatoes, and Lingenberry sauce. This sauce is eaten with many Swedish dishes, like cabbage rolls and both savory and sweet pancakes. In 2015, IKEA began offering other kinds of meatballs that create less of a carbon footprint than the classic ones. Their chicken balls' carbon footprint is 6 times lower, and their vegetable balls is 30 times lower. Additionally, IKEA recently introduced another type of vegetable ball called plant balls that look and taste more like their classic meatballs. One plant ball has just 4% of the climate footprint of the traditional IKEA meatball. You can feel good about eating these to fuel your body during a long day of shopping. After all, IKEA's founder Ingvar Kamprad famously said, "It's difficult to do business with someone on an empty stomach."
So let's dive into day 2 of the article. IKEA stores around the world sell about 2 million Swedish meatballs every day.
Holy cow.
Whew, that's a lot of meatballs.
That's a lot of cow.
Yeah. It may surprise people to learn that Swedish meatballs weren't originally Swedish, though.
So maybe they shouldn't be called Swedish meatballs then.
Where are they from?
I don't know.
Before we learn that, let's talk about this word originally. It's an adverb, and originally means from the beginning, or in the beginning, or at first. Many people think that the meatballs are originally Swedish, that they were first made in Sweden, but they're not. Another way to use this word is I'm originally from the UK, but I've lived in East Asia for over 10 years. So the place that I was born, I first came from, is the UK. Here's an example sentence. Pizza is originally from Italy, but other countries have added their own flavors.
Yes, like Taiwan's very strange Pizza Hut pizzas.
猪血糕 pizza, pig's blood pizza with coriander and peanut powder.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thanks. If you guys like it, that's more power to you. I'll pass. But anyway, so where did those Swedish meatballs come from then? Well, what it says here is King Charles XII of Sweden brought home a Turkish meatball recipe from the Ottoman Empire in the early 18th century. Okay, so a Turkish meatball recipe. They are actually from Turkey, and specifically Ottoman Empire Turkey. So the Ottoman Empire was this huge empire in the Middle East at the time, in the early 18th century. I think they survived until the early 20th century. So, after that, it broke into countries. Now you have Turkey and Jordan and all these different places, but Turkey was the main place. So they came from Turkey and now they are Swedish. But we had a word here which was a Turkish meatball recipe. Let's find out what a recipe is. So a recipe is a word here that we're talking about food. Now, as you can guess, it's a noun. It's a list of ingredients and instructions for cooking something. So basically, King Charles XII didn't bring back the meatballs themselves. Probably the trip was too long, they would go bad. But what he brought back was the way to make it. So he brought back something that said you have to take this kind of meat, this kind of spice, you cook it this way, and then you serve it this way. That's a recipe. If you want to make some food and you're not really sure how to do it, or you want to know the exact way to do it, you should use a recipe to guide you. Some people can cook without recipes. They have to have a little more skill in cooking, but they're able to do it without having to look at the instructions or look at the ingredients. It's usually because the food is very much in their mind and they already know how to make it. But if you don't know how to make a certain food, a recipe is your best friend. So an example sentence, my grandfather taught me his special recipe for making chocolate chip cookies.
So back to the article and more about those meatballs. Classic IKEA meatballs contain beef and pork. And they're served with gravy, potatoes, and Lingenberry sauce. Oh, I'm getting hungry just listening to that. Let's talk about some of those ingredients. Gravy and Lingenberry. Gravy is a brown sauce that's usually made with the juices that you get from cooking meat, with other stocks and flavors mixed in.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different recipe for gravy, so it's not just one thing. You can make a gravy using onions, herbs, beef juice, pork juice, or you can do a vegetarian gravy without any kind of meat.
Yeah, usually I think the vegetarian gravies have some kind of soy sauce or like protein sauce and then flour. I think flour is what makes the gravy thick and not see-through.
Yeah.
And I think IKEA's gravy is vegetarian, which is why they add it to their other kinds of foods too. Like when I go to IKEA, I get the mashed potatoes with gravy.
So good.
Yeah, really, really good.
Yeah, gravy's consistency is somewhere between water and maybe ketchup. It's thicker than water, but not as thick as ketchup, so you can still pour it over your food.
Yeah.
We also saw the word Lingenberry, which I'll be honest, I had to Google.
It's very Swedish. It's a very Swedish food.
Lingenberry is also known as cowberry. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently Google told me this.
Okay.
It's a bright red berry that grows on bushes in colder places. And we can use it to make medicines and to make jams and other foods too.
And there's Lingenberry sauce is like just this nice red sauce that they put on top of everything.
Yeah, very sweet, adds a new flavor to the food. Let's talk about this word sauce. So the word sauce, if you're American, or sauce, if you're British, it's a thick liquid food that we put in or on other food to make it taste better or different or to make the food less dry. So ketchup, mayonnaise, and mustard are all different kinds of sauce, and soy sauce and chili sauce are more common in East Asian cuisines. Anything can be a sauce if you blend it into a liquid and make it pourable. Here's an example sentence. French fries taste much better if you dip them into a sauce.
All right, so we have gravy and Lingenberry sauce, depending on how you say it. Yeah, so British people say like sauce, right?
Sauce, yeah.
And then New Yorkers tend to say sauce.
Sauce.
And I say sauce. Yeah, so yeah, sauce. It depends on where you are from as to how you say it. This sauce is eaten with many Swedish dishes like cabbage rolls and both savory and sweet pancakes.
So yummy.
So we're going to talk about the pancakes, but first we need to know what savory is. So we have cabbage rolls, right? That's like a leafy vegetable rolled up in a roll, I guess, maybe kind of like a dumpling. But savory is this kind of word that describes a certain taste. So you saw it's savory or sweet. Now that means that savory is not the same thing as sweet. Savory is having kind of a spicy or a salty taste without being sweet. So savory foods include things like mushrooms, meat, soy sauce, barbecue, Beans are pretty savory. I don't know, what else?
Anything that's not sweet, right?
Yeah, like most dumplings are savory.
Yeah. Salty is a bit different from savory,
Yeah,
right?
so like chips, like potato chips are salty, but things like noodles might be savory. Yeah.
I think for me, the quintessential savory taste is mushroom. Like it's a very savory taste. There's no sweetness, almost earthy and meaty in texture.
Yes, and I think in Japanese they have a word umami.
Umami.
Yeah, that's basically the word for savory that even English uses it a lot now.
We do.
Yeah. So savory pancakes might, have things like gravy on them.
Cheese or chicken.
Yeah. So a pancake is, as you probably know, a thin, flat, round cake that is made cooking on a pan or on a hot surface like a griddle. So like maybe in the US we have what we call like flapjacks, which are kind of a little bit thick pancakes that we make on a griddle or in a frying pan, and they're about this big around maybe, I don't know, depends. And then you put syrup and butter on them, but Swedish pancakes are a little bit different. Swedish pancakes are really, really big, very flat, very thin. They usually put like lemon on them or Lingenberry sauce and syrup, which is basically sugar sauce. Yeah, or lots of other things. There's, scallion pancakes in Taiwan are especially popular.
Songyobing.
Yeah, songyobing. So yeah, songbing, that's pancake. So an example sentence for pancakes. I made pancakes with bananas and put honey and cream on them for breakfast.
Congratulations on your delicious breakfast.
Yes.
I think many countries have pancakes of one kind or another.
Yeah.
And in the UK, pancakes for us are more like the Swedish ones.
Oh, really?
Where they're super thin with lemon juice and sugar. Super tasty.
Are they anything, I don't know, what's the difference between a Swedish pancake and a crepe?
I think they're very similar. I think they're very, very similar. But
Crepes are usually rolled with stuff inside them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't usually eat the fluffy American-style pancakes in the UK. Pancake means the thin one. But they're all good to me. Well, back to the article, it says, in 2015, IKEA began offering other kinds of meatballs that create less of a carbon footprint than the classic ones.
Right.
Ooh, well, that's a good thing for the environment.
Yes.
Let's talk about this phrase, carbon footprint. We're getting quite scientific here.
My feet?
Nothing to do with your feet, really.
Oh, okay.
Carbon footprint is how much carbon dioxide a person or a process puts into the world. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, is pretty bad for the atmosphere.
Yes.
It makes global warming happen faster, which is bad. So by talking about someone or something's carbon footprint, we're talking about how good or bad that thing is for the environment. For example, some old cars have a big carbon footprint as they use lots of energy and release lots of gases. Electric cars have a smaller carbon footprint as they use less energy. So by saying that IKEA has new meatballs that have less of a carbon footprint, the article is explaining that the new meatballs are made in a way that's better for the environment. Let's find out how.
Well, before we find out how, we're going to find out what kind of meatballs we are looking at. So some of them are actually not meatballs at all, but some of them are. So the article says their chicken balls' carbon footprint is 6 times lower than the normal ones, and their vegetable balls is 30 times lower. That's quite good. So their vegetable balls have a 30 times lower carbon footprint than their usual meatballs. That means they're, 30 times less bad for the environment. That's really great. But first we need to take a look at this grammar point, this language in focus. We're looking at some number times more something than the other thing. So we're doing a comparison here. Let's take a look. All right, so this grammar point, we're using a number times an adjective more or less or something of something else. So this is using to compare two things that have a certain quantity, which is a number or amount, like maybe 30 times more water. So times is used to multiply numbers. So for example, 2 times 3 is 6. That means you take 3 2 times and you get 6. So for another example, you could take the weight of something. For example, one car could be the weight of 3 bikes. How heavy is it? We can use 3 different ways to describe this. You could say, the car is 3 times heavier than the bike. Or you could say, the car is 3 times as heavy as the bike. That means the same thing. Or you could use a noun instead. The car is 3 times the weight or heaviness of the bike. That means in order to get the car's weight, you would have to have 3 bikes. But it's an easier way to say it. So if we go back to the article, we're seeing that chicken balls' carbon footprint is lower by 6 times. And if you're saying that it's lower, that means it's 1/6 the carbon footprint of the other kind of meatballs. And then the vegetable balls is 30 times lower, so that's 1/30th of the carbon footprint of the other one.
Well, back to the article, it says, additionally, IKEA recently introduced another type of vegetable bowl called plant bowls that look and taste more like their classic meatballs. Well, the article used the word additionally here, which is a long word. It's an adverb, and we use this word when we're giving more information about something, extra facts about the thing that you're talking about. To introduce a new fact to support your point, you can use the word additionally. Here's an example sentence. To pass this class, you need to score 60% or higher. Additionally, you must not miss more than 5 hours of class.
Okay, so additionally adds a new fact, which is the beginning of additionally. So they're saying that the carbon footprint of these chicken balls, vegetable balls, and plant balls is much lower than the normal meatballs, which are made out of beef and pork. And we're saying that one plant ball has just 4% of the climate footprint of the traditional IKEA meatball. And I think we did the math on this, and it came out to what, like 1/25th? 1/25th. So actually the vegetable balls are still the least harmful to the environment. They have the smallest carbon footprint or climate footprint, which is what we're saying here. So basically the reason for this is because meat, like pigs and cows, takes a lot of grass, a lot of water, and a lot of time to raise, and a lot of time to process into, meat. Whereas vegetables or plants take less time and less water and usually less resources.
Less space, yeah. I think the reason that beef or cow meat is the most bad for the environment is because they're big animals. They need a lot of energy, a lot of space, a lot of water, a lot of grass. It's really bad for the environment to eat a lot of beef.
Exactly.
So if you do want to help the world, try and eat less beef at the beginning, and maybe even consider going vegetarian someday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm vegetarian. I eat eggs and I eat dairy, but I think that it's about, there's no way that you can do zero harm, but you can lower the harm that you do.
Lower the harm.
Yeah.
I'm not a vegetarian, but I do consciously eat less beef and pork, and try and eat maybe a bit more chicken, because chickens are easier to raise.
They're smaller animals, they take less resources. So if basically think about, like, if it's a smaller animal or if it's a vegetable, it will take less carbon. It will make less carbon than eating a bigger animal. Yeah.
And if these plant bowls at IKEA taste just like the traditional meat bowl, then
they do.
Why not eat those?
I love them.
I want to try them.
They're really good.
Well, back to the article, it says, you can feel good about eating these to fuel your body during a long day of shopping. After all, IKEA's founder Ingvar Kamprad famously said, it's difficult to do business with someone on an empty stomach.
I agree. It's difficult to do much of anything on an empty stomach.
It's true. It's difficult to think even. And I think the founder's quote here is really the key to why IKEA is so successful, right?
Exactly.
You go shopping and then you have a meal.
Or have a meal and then go shopping.
Yeah, it's so good. We talked about the word founder here. A founder is a person who founds something. To found means to create something, usually like a business, a school, or an institution. If you're the person that makes or founds that company, you are the founder.
So you created a company like Ingvar Kamprad created IKEA. He founded it. He didn't find it, he founded it. So to found something is different than to find something. They're different verbs. And what he said is that it's hard to do business on an empty stomach. Now, we talked about food this whole time. We talked about being hungry. Now we get down to where does it all go? Your stomach is where it goes. The organ in your body where your food goes and begins to be digested after you swallow it. It's basically the first stop on the way out of you. So, yeah, basically you swallow your food, it goes down to about here in this little pocket here, that's your stomach. And if you're saying doing something on an empty stomach, that means when you're hungry or when you haven't eaten in a while. And usually people who are running on an empty stomach can't think that well because you need nutrition in your body for everything else to work really well. So an example sentence here could be, my stomach made a loud noise that told me it was time to eat lunch.
The word stomach, I guess, is quite interesting because we can use it maybe in two ways. One, to talk about the organ inside your body.
Yes.
But also, if I say my grandfather has a big stomach, I'm talking more about his belly.
Yeah. Or like you say that you can stomach a lot of different things.
Yeah.
That means you can handle it. You won't feel sick because of, like, I don't know, watching a bloody movie or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I can stomach it.
And I think many people think their stomach is here, but actually your stomach's kind of higher than most people think it is,
it's like right next to your ribs, below your heart.
Yeah, protected.
These are your intestines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of our two-day article about IKEA and their famous meatballs. Now that you know that they have these plant balls or chicken balls, which are better for the environment, perhaps you can give them a go. But let's go to our For You chat question to really wrap things up.
You chat.
All right, our For You chat question for today is a pretty good one to think about. What can you do in your daily life to reduce your carbon footprint? So to reduce the carbon you put into the world.
Yeah, there are many, many things you can do. I think an obvious example is to use more public transportation.
Yes.
So don't drive your own car, take the bus or the metro instead.
Or take a bike.
Or take a bike, right?
Yeah, I biked to work this morning.
I bike everywhere in Taipei.
Yeah.
Biking is probably the best way to get around a city because it's good for your body, you get exercise, and it releases 0 carbon dioxide.
Now, we don't mean scooters, we mean bicycles.
Right, like U-bike bicycles.
Yeah, U-bike.
Yeah. That's a really good way for you to make a difference every day of your life.
Exactly.
I think another difference is also not eating as much meat, you know?
Yeah, agree. And for me, the thing I've been focusing on lately is to reuse things as much as I can and repurpose things as much as I can. Because, okay, you can buy more environmentally friendly goods, but you're actually still creating carbon if you're buying new things. So if you don't buy as many new things and just use the old things you have, you're actually not putting as much carbon into the world. So even if you're using plastic, if you're using non-recyclable materials, if you keep using them, then you're actually helping to reduce the carbon that you would make by buying a new thing.
That's the excuse I wear for buying new underwear only once every 7 years.
I can't do that. I think, my underwear wears out too fast.
Anyway, you guys can think about this question too. What can you do in your daily life to reduce your carbon footprint? There are many good ideas, and maybe you can Google this and find some answers online too. Super important, especially in the world we live in today. Well, we'll see you next time. Go to IKEA, get some plant meatballs.
Yeah.
And enjoy your meal.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Originally. Although Sam now lives in Taiwan, he's originally from the UK. Recipe. Delia really liked her friend's cookies, so she got the recipe to make some herself. Sauce. On Sundays in England, it's traditional to eat beef with a meat sauce. Pancake. In the morning, Jill loves to make pancakes, which she rolls up with sugar and lemon. Additionally, Tom has found a company he wants to join. It offers great pay. Additionally, It offers a lot of paid vacation days. Stomach. Mickey thinks he ate too much chocolate because now his stomach really hurts.
智慧小补帖
Gravy. Savory. Founder.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net